Awesome. Hey guys, Pedro Vega with Cardinal Senior Benefits. I want to talk about the difference between being a captive agent and being an independent broker. So at Cardinal, we are a senior market independent brokerage. That means our agents are not stuck with one product or one company. We got all the tools on the belt that you'll ever need, and that's great because you get to serve people better. You can give people pound for pound, dollar for dollar, the best possible value that they will find, and that feels great. That leads to you making more sales, making more commissions, and feeling good about it all along the way. So guys, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show.
There it is, baby. I love it.
I'm just gonna hold the book up the whole time on my camera because it's the closest thing to matching how good the other side of the camera looks, bro.
I appreciate that.
Dude, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm good, Andreas, dude. It is good to see your face after, being able to see you every day in the past. It's fun to rekindle the flame here. So how you doing?
I missed you too.
And hey, thanks for grabbing my book, by the way. It looks awesome.
Heck yeah, dude. Look, check this out, babe.
Ooh, we got the hardcover. I love it. I love it. This man's a true supporter.
That's right. Well, I mean, honestly, dude, and we can just dive right on in. Like,
yeah,
it was a no-brainer for me to buy this. I'm not particularly in high-ticket sales, but what I did do is spend a lot of time watching you work. Spend a lot of time being really impressed with how you conduct your business, how you conduct your clients, how you lead people well, how you teach people the value of what you're selling. And so when I found out you were literally writing the book on how you accomplish this, I was like, yeah, how's that gonna hurt in any way as a business owner to like get inside your brain and know about this stuff? And sure enough, I will admit I didn't finish it yet because it was kind of like a tight squeeze from when I got here to when we recorded, but and the 4th of July just happened. But from even the stuff I already read, I was like, man, this is, I can tell you're a master of your craft. And so let's just dive right in there. Let's talk about the book first. As co-authors, or not co-authors, as both of us are authors, I know what it takes to do this. I know how scary it is to do this. Yeah. Tell me about the process, the inspiration for this thing, as your chapter 1 suggests. Let's just start with why and go forward.
Oh man. The book on high ticket sales. This was there's actually a couple other books that I have been wanting to write before this one came to light. And actually I've written a couple of books before this already. And you might remember when you actually were working with me in the past back at self-publishing school, right? There was always this like joke. Chad's been around for a long time and he's got all these book ideas, but still hasn't done it yet. And every book that I had, I almost had like that imposter syndrome just to get them out there. I was like, maybe that won't even be that good. So I have a couple books that are about 75% done. And then I just shelved them, right? Because I got in my own head. And, there was this moment that I had maybe, without getting too deep to start this thing off, there's like this moment that I had, at the end of last year, I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this thing and actually like write my book, it's either I'm going to shit or get off the pot, right? I'm either going to do it or I'm just going to chalk it up and say, hey, it wasn't meant for me. And I've always wanted to start a consulting agency. I've always wanted to do all these things. I'm like, man, we teach everyone to write a book to start their business. Well, and then I got this great idea after reading the book by Brandon Turner, the book on real estate investing. I love that book. And I was like, man, I could literally do the book on high ticket sales and lead into my business. So, but my process, I didn't rush it a ton, but my process was 2 hours a week, every Saturday morning. I woke up extra early, like 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. I worked on my book. And then there was like maybe sometimes sprinkled out through the week that I worked on it, but that was pretty much it. And it was just consistency. And people on this podcast are going to think this is crazy. Literally took me 2 months to write my manuscript. It wasn't, which is, and it's not even the longest book, but it just shows how much consistency really makes a difference,
Yeah. So let's dig into a couple of things that you said already there, because I want to get into what you talk about in the book as well. But even the idea of what you said, you mentioned imposter syndrome. Like, what did you do to overcome that? Because I feel like that's something that isn't talked about enough. And one of the things, as you kind of are doing something as scary as writing a book and putting
Yeah.
your thoughts out to the public, is it's a lonely venture, and you feel it the most in situations like that, where you're kind of doing something that's kind of just you, uh, but publicly. How did you overcome that idea? How did you overcome that the feeling of like, why would anybody care what I have to say? I'm no expert, or whatever people feel like that.
Yeah, great question. And there is that. What was it that I read? It's funny you asked me this question. I literally got asked that question, or I got asked that question recently, and then at Author Advantage Live, our conference, that is actually what I was asked to speak on. So I spoke an entire 45-minute segment on how to overcome imposter syndrome. And I think the biggest thing that we talk a lot about, which is in my book, is really you have to determine your why. But it can't just be this, oh, I want to write a book because it'll make me look cool and it'll make me be credible, right? That's so surface level. And I think when I was younger, 3-4 years ago, that was the reason. To be known as an author and to be seen as someone that's done something that 99% of the world wants to do, but only 1% of the world actually does it, right? So there's an incredible accomplishment with writing a book. But I think there's that element of really sitting down. It's like, well, why do I want that? And if you know where this is going, I actually go over this in my book, and Dylan probably talked about it. I learned it from Dylan, which Dylan learned it from. I'm sure you know what company it is that oversees that a lot of Southwestern.
And when he went to Africa,
Yeah, the Africa,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
They're gonna be so mad when they hear this. But Scott Roy is the founder of it.
Yeah.
WRP. All right. So
Yes.
but anyways, they talked about digging deeper. And so I started to do the exercise of well, why do I want credibility? And it went into, well, I want to, be seen as an authority. Well, why do I want that? And then you kept going, and why do I want that? And why do I want that? And I just kept going until this point where I just got this smile on my face, and I realized that, man, credibility to me turns into starting a business, which turns into freedom, which freedom's important because, man, when I have a family someday and I'm spending time like with my kids and they're doing cool things, playing sports and traveling, whatever, I don't want to be the dad that can't go because I got to stick in my 9 to 5. Right. So there was this way deeper meaning. I don't even have kids yet. Right. So I'm like going and then it just became this thing where it's like, all right, I got to do this. Like, if not now, when? Right. You may have heard that before. Yeah. But just got me to that place I needed to be. And there's a lot more stuff that you can do to overcome imposter syndrome, but that's the first step, right? It's really just why you need to do this.
Yeah, and I love that concept. Simon Sinek, you quote him right at the beginning, and I love that concept. To me, he's like one of the best people to speak on this and to learn from. And you mentioned him, so I'm glad that was something that you drew inspiration from. I like that you also said, when you either smile or you get chills, that's when you know you arrived. I always thought of it as like, if you start tearing up a little bit, or if you start like really getting warm fuzzies, there it is.
Yeah.
So cool, man. And now thank you for that. It's a great way to consider, like, start using your why and understanding why you want to do this will overcome that imposter syndrome. Phenomenal way of doing that. When it comes to when you were writing about you were talking about consistency and getting your manuscript done in 2 months. I worked with you at SPS, so I can see how that's real and how that's really possible. Can you speak to how incredible that sounds, or maybe go into a little bit more detail about that process and how it is possible to do something like that so quickly?
Yeah. I know we're on a Southwestern, podcast, but it's whenever you probably talk to folks, and I've heard people say this on this podcast over and over, but just the foundations of what you learn selling books door to door is the thing that's not only helped me get to where I am, but I think it's like one of those things that just helps you write a book. Right. And so there's that element of consistency, right? Whenever you talk about writing a book, most people think, oh my gosh, Chad, that must have taken you years to write that thing. Right. And they're thinking of the novel. They're thinking of, the Lord of the Ring trilogy, Harry Potter. Well, of course, that type of a book is going to take a lot more time. You're plotting, your characters, there's twists, there's turns, all these different things. Now, when it comes to self-help book, right? And this is something that I felt like I really knew like the back of my hand. I've spoken on this topic, stuff with high ticket sales for years. And, I got to this point where I just outlined it out and I just started writing. And there was this element of just realizing that, hey, if I just work on this every single week and I stick to my schedule and do the thing that I said I was going to do. Yes, you have to have a plan, just like when you sell books. You got to have a plan. You got to know you got to have 30 demos a day. If you do that, you'll keep, whatever your bank account away. I don't know. But it's one of those things with a book. I just made progress every week. And then eventually I was like, oh, my draft's done. That was the coolest moment. I'm sure you can attest to this.
Yeah, dude.
It wasn't edited yet, but it was just like, it was almost that feeling of, I almost felt sad because is it really done?
Yeah.
Because the journey, I never, just that whole journey of it. And then the end, it was almost felt like I needed more in there. So who knows, maybe there's gonna be a volume 2, but
yeah, dude,
it was a cool feeling. But consistency is the biggest thing. It wins in life, business, it wins in relationships, and it definitely wins in writing a book.
Dude, can I tell you about this, like how I went through that same process with my book? It was simple like that. I got the permission. Mine's a little different because it wasn't like the how-to of sales, but mine was more like telling my dad's story and my family story moving to the US. And I got the permission, green light, on December 28th. My family, after Christmas, they were like, yep, you can talk about us. Because I had to, it's not just my story. So I got that.
Yeah.
I needed it to be published published by March 7th, because that was the anniversary of my dad coming to the United States. And so I really wanted to make that was a big why. I'm like, I need to thank him for this. And it's the 21st year anniversary of him coming. It's a big deal. So I from you guys, I learned that a memoir can be anywhere from like 50 to like 60,000 words. And once I had that, like you said, the Southwestern knowledge. So now it was like, all right, how many days are left until March 7th? And then, okay, if I want that to be done, including all the cover and all that stuff, I need the manuscript to be done by January 26th at the latest. 30 days, you do some math, you figure out how many words you need to write a day. And now that's the controllable, which I want to go into and transition with. For your book, you talk about controlling the controllables. And I thought that was a cool mention, and shout out back to kind of the things that we learned.
Yeah.
Because now it's up to me. It turned out to be something along the lines of like 1,000 words a day. And I'm like, I could do that. And then I let it rip. So
and it's a system, right? Yeah. And the best thing we learned when we sold bookstore to door is you put pressure on the system, not in yourself. And just so many people fail to plan, right? So you plan to fail, right?
Yeah. It's amazing. I love it. That's a great quote. So good. Yeah. That was my DSM Yvette. That was her favorite quote. Okay, so on the book, let's dive into some of the content here and share a little bit of some of these principles. So kind of give us a little bit of the sizzle of the steak of the book, because I think it'd be worth kind of like just learning from you. So sure. One of the things that you mentioned on here, I want to get specific question of your method to this, because I thought it was just genius and fascinating. The way you brought up how you handle cancellations, or like appointment cancellations, and I'll ask about that. But can you walk us through a little bit of what your day-to-day look like? And like, let's just take it from the top. How do you define high ticket sales? How do you define what that is? Like when people, because people who might be listening maybe sold books, and they're like, $1,200 is a high ticket sale for the full bag.
Yeah. So, I mean, it felt like it was so much money back in the day, right?
So let's just take it from the basics, and then I'll get into some of those nitty gritties of some advanced sales nuggets that you were given. But
sure.
Take it from the top. High ticket sales, what it is, what it isn't. What does your day look like in order to achieve this?
Yep. So yeah, I think that's a great starting point. So high ticket sales, just for anyone that doesn't know what it is, it's anyone that buys a course, a product, or some sort of coaching program that prices anywhere from 3,000 upwards to 50 grand. All right. And very similar to, a one call close situation that you're doing, or you did when you sold bookstore to door, right? You get on the phone with someone, they offer you some sort of coaching program, some sort of education. On the back end, it's $6,000, it's $10,000. And as a salesperson, your job is to close them on that call, because as we all know, if they don't buy, what happens? the
They're not
chance
gonna-
of the chance of them buying goes down significantly. And if you call back, maybe they eventually buy whatever, I'm not saying it never happens, but could be a suicide call. So, when someone's making a big decision or a big financial decision to spend 10 grand, if I can get them to sign up in that moment, right, that is what a high ticket sale is. And it's a one call close, but it's over the phone. All right. So, and Tony Robbins is a big name that I know a lot of people have heard of. All right. And so Tony Robbins sells coaching programs that start at $5, $10, $15, $20,000. And they have sales reps that you talk to enroll in those. All right. So, so that is essentially what high ticket sales is.
So in your brain, so explain a little bit about your industry of high ticket sales so we can kind of get an idea of like what it is like for you. You described it pretty well in the book. So walk through the story of what that looks like. What does your day look like, and like how did you get into high ticket sales in the first place?
Yep. So, man, I went the typical route. I won't go too much into this. Maybe this spurs conversation for later down the road. But I did the insurance with Family Heritage when I actually left Southwestern. I did that for just shy of 5 years, and at that point, I started thinking, okay, I've been here pretty long time. I don't know if I want to keep adding dirt to the pile. I think it's a great career, but when I started thinking like 10, 15, 20 years, I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to stick to. And so I started to explore a little bit, see what else was out there, and came across this company that was called Self-Publishing School, now selfpublishing.com, and met a gentleman named Chandler Bolt. And I guess the rest is history. But essentially how I got into high ticket sales is they had an offer where we actually taught people how to publish their own books. And they got a coach that helped them write their book, and then we helped them market their book. And that program, when I first started, it was like $3,000. All right. And obviously the goal was for people to buy that product right in that moment and help. And then we could help them get started on their book. So that's how I got started in it. And then it opened this whole world of, oh my gosh, there are so many different industries out here doing this: marketing packages, business accelerators, start your podcast. There's so many things. And it's such an interesting market because, the e-learning market is, there's projections I talk about at my book with Market Insider. It's over like a $300 billion industry, right? People are now realizing that, I don't have to go spend $40,000 to go get an education on, business. All right. Take all these Gen Ed classes and I spend 50 grand, but they're realizing, wait, if I want to start a business, there's a guy named Tony Robbins. I'll use him as an example, or Russell Brunson, or Dean Graziosi. I'm, trying to use some names that people have heard of.
Gary V,
where they sell programs that teach you how to start a business from scratch. And it might be $5,000. And that is a way lesser investment. But then on top of that, you're actually learning from the guy that's really successful at it, right?
Who did it.
Because a lot of these, and this is a whole nother conversation, so we don't have to go too far down this rabbit hole, but there's a lot of professors out there. They teach business classes, and guess what? They've never even owned a business. Seems kind of silly, right?
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part about high ticket sales. And so what our company does is we train people, how to get into high ticket sales. We help them land a career in it, but then we also teach them how to do it successfully, right?
Yeah.
With coaching, etc. And so that's how I got into it, though, was through selling publishing stuff.
So now let's talk about High Ticket Sales Academy then, because the founding of this, how did you decide that this is the right time? Why this year? Why not last year? And why not next year to launch this?
Oh man, so actually I did actually launch it last year. It was very soft, and I've been doing it just on the side and just through word of mouth and getting clients here and there and yada yada yada. And coming into 2023, I set big goals for myself. I do the things, I set my yearly goals. I break it down to a month. I break it down to a quarter. And as I started thinking about 2023, there's so many big changes I had in my life recently. You may have saw I got married.
I did,
a couple of weeks ago. I was up in Iceland with my fiance. I love our now wife, Abby. Love my life. And so that was a big thing that was happening this year. And
no big deal.
Right. Writing and publishing my very first book was a big deal. And, and then I had this business I kind of was doing on the side here and there. And I'm like, man, I really should put a little fuel behind the fire here and see what I can do with this thing. And so as I started thinking about my big goals, I want to buy another real estate investment property, all these things, I started making themes. All right. I love themes. And so I called this my Michael Jordan year, hence 2023. Right. And all that
Let's
stuff.
go.
And this is going to be the year that just so many things in my life are just going to explode. And so I got this, and writing the book was a big piece that gave me a lot more confidence to do it and to be like, no, I am a freaking thought leader in this. I wrote the book on high ticket sales. Right. And that really spurred me. But then also when I started thinking about, okay, if I'm going to get married this year, well, I'm already in my early 30s. I mean, I'm assuming Abby and I are going to want to have kids, at some point soon. And if we're going to have kids soon, well, if I'm going to build something, I want to build it before my kids get here.
Yes.
Right. Because I know how the type of dad I want to be, and I want to be present. Right. So there's a lot of that stuff. But I just got big goals. I mean, and I'm starting to feel that urgency. I mean, I'm only in my early 30s. It's not, I'm not this old guy, but at the same time, I know in 2 years, I'm going to wish I was back in this exact moment. You know what I mean? And I'm going to feel that way forever. So if I don't do something now, when am I going to do it? If not now, when? Right.
Boom, bro. That's your perspective for this year seems to be a lot about like, this is the best time it's ever going to be. And let's let it rip. Shoulders back, smash it. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
There's just a lot of stuff, man. And I mean, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, everything's working for me. Everything's working because I'm deciding to go after the goals that I've set for myself, right? I'm not going to sit on the sideline. I'm not going to be the guy that talks about it anymore, right? There's so many of us where we've been thinking, I want to be this person. I want to be an influencer. I want to post more content. I want to do all this stuff. And we just never do it. So if not now, when? Right? There's a little trend if you catch that for the third or fourth time we said it.
Dude, I love this. When you were talked about the importance of, I feel like you have the authority of this. Talk about the importance of writing a book or having some sort of like podcast or having some sort of like lead magnet, if you will, to while opening a business, right? And because this goes really into some good depth, your book, but I can't imagine it goes into as much depth as your sales academy does. And so can you talk about like that strategy and like the mentality behind that? Because I think that's fascinating and worth learning about.
Yep. Yeah, great question. So give away your best stuff for free. All right. And a lot of people are going to say, what? They're listening to this and they're building a coaching program or whatever. Why would I do that? Right. Well, you should, because that's how people know that your best stuff actually works. And there's this saying, and you may have heard this before, but people will pay you to do the thing that was your best stuff, and they will pay you to hear you tell them to do it after they read it in your book. Okay. So I wanted to make sure I had like such good actionable content where I literally wrote this book in the realm of somebody does not even have to come into my coaching program. They can read that book and they will get as much info as they need. If they're in a one call close sales job, they don't even have to be in high ticket sales. They could be in door-to-door sales. They could do whatever, and you will gain any type of sales. You will get so much stuff out of that. And I wrote it in a way where you don't actually have to be my client. All right. Because I want people to realize, man, this stuff's so good. This stuff's so good. And then they're going to say, well, what else could I learn if I worked with Chad? Okay. And so now I do have lead magnets in my book to get to your question. We give away a free audiobook. All right. You can see that within the first page, right? That's just a lot of value. I lead with value. I want my clients to know that, hey, I'm going to get a taste for who Chad is, what he has to offer before I even pay him $1, right? There's so many business owners that do it the other way around. They try to take your money here. I want you. It's only 10 grand. Buy this thing, buy this thing, buy this thing. When it really should be the other way around. You should be giving. Here's this content. Here's this blog. Here's this YouTube video. Here's this thing and this thing and this thing. And then it's all the point where they're like, well, what are you selling anything? Like, what can I buy from you? Right? People always want to buy from the person that they've seen their product, touched it, held it, whatever, seen a lot of the stuff that they have to offer. And so, here at High Ticket Sales Academy, we got blogs, we got the TikTok going, we got all these things with just content galore because that just allows us to grow credibility as well. But you definitely want to have some lead magnets, as a business owner, ways that you can capture names, phone numbers, email addresses, so that you can then market to those folks. So hopefully that answers your question. I kind of
Yeah.
want a little bit of a soapbox, but
No, that's great. And
yeah.
I appreciate that, because one of the things that you're creating in value is, and this is kind of like backwards, or not necessarily backwards, but this isn't necessarily a philosophy that was taught to us selling books door to door. I should distinguish selling books door to door instead of our personal books. Is when you provide that credibility, as well as like your best stuff is also your most credible stuff too, right? So when people read your book, they're gonna know who you are. I mean, I was reading this, and maybe it's because I knew you, but I'm like, I could hear your voice right through your book. Like, you did a great job of speaking as yourself, which I think is a huge part of it. So you can really get to know you as the author. People get to know that you are an expert, because this is stuff that people are charging for, and you're giving it away for free. So what you're instead creating is, instead of creating someone who just wants to sign up to the Sales Academy for themselves, they're doing it to be in connection with you, because they have respected you now as a real expert in this field. So I think it's a genius approach to it, and it makes it so you do apply the principle of the numbers games, which is something that we did at Southwestern.
Yep.
If you have 100,000 people buy your book, just to give it a decent number, you're not selling millions of copies. You don't have to be in New York Times. I mean, ideally, right?
Sure.
Or
Sure.
Oprah's book club, right? In an amazing world, but people think that that's what it takes to have a successful book. But no, all it takes is to have enough copies sold for free, because it's good content, that out of that number, statistically speaking, it's just dripping in from a form of clients. So I think that's a beautiful approach, and it makes it so people who could otherwise afford it in the first place can really like connect first and have something to save towards to get in contact with you. That's amazing, man.
Well, and you probably remember, right? So when you and I both worked at self-publishing school, selfpublishing.com now, right? There's your plug, Chandler Bolt.
Yeah.
Some of the best people that purchased our program, that was at the time $5,000. Okay. They read Chandler's book, and they were just the easiest. And you probably remember, right?
Yeah.
When you talk to those folks and put them on my calendar, right? And I read Chandler's book. You probably got a little bit excited, because they basically got in Chandler's head.
Yeah.
And built confidence that, man, this book's so good. This is so good. This is everything I need to know. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, and they can help me. I don't have to do all this on my own. Right. And so that's whole concept. But
and there's a good point to that. I remember when I would call people, and they specifically had mentioned that they got on my calendar or the reason I was talking to them is because they signed up for this phone call, and they would mention Chandler as if they had met him. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, I just love Chandler. Like, if they had a conversation at the bar, and he was sharing with them how to publish a book, right?
Yep.
And that's what you do with your book too. Like, I'm reading this, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm talking. Like, honestly, I've been reading your book over the last couple of weeks since I got here, and I feel like I've been talking to you. So that even recording now, like, I feel like I'm just continuing this conversation that you've been having with me through your book, and that's huge. I mean, that's really the key, because you're the guy that knows, right? It's the concepts aren't as important as your credibility, and you're establishing that by putting your best stuff out there for free, and that's genius. Really, really, really smart approach. Let's get into some of the techniques, and let me ask you, as the expert on high ticket sales, like some questions that maybe this is more from a perspective of, I'm listening to this, I'm in sales, and I'm looking to this podcast to be, or this specific episode to be, a bit of an advanced sales section to it. So let's approach it from that direction of like advice from Chad, right? And I'm gonna pick on some of the stuff that I for sure read in the book.
But if you want to pick some stuff or there's something specific.
Yeah, I got a specific one to start with, but I'll also ask you, like, what are some of the, when you were writing, and I know I have these moments in my book where you like, there's certain chapters or sections in your book that you wrote that you're like, ooh, that was really good. Like, it's all good, but like, that was really, really good, So let me just ask you my question first, and let's take it from there. Some of the stuff that you were talking about were Southwestern principles, and I was really identifying with them, but you did something on here that was so unique. I don't even know if I knew that you did this when we were working together, but it was the section where you talk about calendar management, and you talk about your SOP at the end of the day, or end of day standard operation procedure, which is like
Yep.
your regular routine to close out your day, and how you look at your calendar the next. So walk me through that thought process. You know what section I'm referring to?
Oh yeah. No, I know.
Can you explain
Yeah.
what it's for, like as far as like cancellations and like give me the background context and then explain that technique, because I thought that was just so brilliant.
Yeah. So in high ticket sales, just to preface this a little bit, it's a really cool industry because there's two different levels. So you have a sales development rep. So if you don't know what that is, it's someone that does the cold calling. All right, maybe with a little bit less experience, and they book people that are qualified on your calendar. All right. And as a closer, your job is just to wake up in the morning. I'm not going to, make it sound fun, but it is fun. But, you wake up in the morning and you have a stacked calendar of already scheduled appointments. So for you Southwestern people, think of it as you wake up in the morning and you already have appointments with Susie, No, Susie, not
Mrs.
Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones. We use Susie at a different company, but Mrs. Jones. Imagine having Mrs. Jones on your calendar, 7 appointments every single day for the whole week, whatever, and you don't even have to go anywhere, right? That'd be a dream. I used to think about that back in the day, how great that would be.
Yeah.
Right.
And for perspective, I was to even add to the analogy, not only do you have those appointments set up, but some other book kid already went by, knocked on the door, kind of gave him an idea of what the product was, kind of got the pre-approach of like, oh, they're a high school kid, they're struggling with math, right? And so when you show up to this, and they're excited to see you.
I already have notes, right?
So when you show up to the appointment, like that part's already done. Of like the pre-approach, they said yes, they want to learn more. So then Chad comes along. Just to continue with your analogy.
And the last thing I'm going to add to that is they already know a rough idea of what it's going to cost or the investment they're going to have to make, right? So that they're 80% probably financially qualified to afford whatever you have to offer. And so you're a closer. That's what the term is, a closer. You're just coming in to close the deal, right? And so in that section where I talked about calendar management and all those things, well, man, oh man, the most successful salespeople are the most efficient with their time. All right. And so for me, when I was in a high ticket sales role, it was super important that if somebody ever booked out beyond 2-3 days from the day, like if today's Monday and they booked an appointment for Thursday, in my mind, that's a first red flag. All right. I want to make sure, one, that person's going to show up. All right. I talk about this in my book called The Rule of 48. All right. If somebody books an appointment outside of 48 hours, they're getting reminders. I'm getting a confirmation that they're going to show up for that appointment. Because if they don't confirm it, chances are they're probably going to forget. You can think good in the world, but the average person will not show up. I promise you, especially if we look at the numbers. All right. Mm-hmm. So Rule 48, anyone books outside of 2 days for anything, always follow up, confirm you're going to be there. You're going to be there. Yep. So I would check those things, right? The next thing I would always do is I would look ahead to my calendar. And one of the things that I talk about in my book is having to increase your conversion rate. You want to also increase your quality of client that you're speaking with. And so I break down a series of questions that you should ask people before they book a call. So we call it a survey. All right. And in that survey, somebody tells me what their book's about. They tell me how important it is to do it, how much money they want to invest in this product, and what their job is. All right. Now, if somebody puts, unemployed, they have zero money to invest, and I see that on my calendar for the next day. Well, in my mind, it's probably not a good chance that no matter how great my sales are that day, or how much energy I have, or how amazing my product is, or how great our conversation is, they're probably not going to be most likely to buy. So I might want to mark that free and see if I can get a more qualified candidate. All right. And so there's that element, but then there's also, if I end a call early, or if I have a no-show appointment, someone doesn't show up, well, I'm going to call the appointment that's maybe an hour later, or 2 hours down the day, call them ahead of time and see if I can get them on my calendar. Now that frees up a slot for my afternoon, so somebody else can book there. And so I'm getting more at bats, you see? And so instead of thinking of it as oh man, somebody canceled last minute, no show, I guess I'll take this hour to scroll through TikTok and watch some reels until my next appointment. No, I'm going to call ahead to the appointment that's next. And then the next one, if they don't answer. And most of the time, about 50 to 70% of the time, people are going to be like, oh yeah, cool, I'd love to talk earlier. Right. And you're just, it's like I said, it's that efficiency. And it's how many, one, how many more people can I talk to than the other guy? But then two, how can I make sure I'm talking to the most qualified candidates? And so in section 4, I dive into all that stuff way more in depth. So if you're like, man, this sounds really good, how do I implement it? And you're a business owner, I talk about it in section 4. And so definitely check that out.
Yeah, go check it out, dude. So cool, so cool. When you're writing the book, what part of the of your expertise that you share were you most excited about for people to read on your end?
Man, I'm actually looking at my book. It's almost like, what were the things that I was most excited
Dude,
about?
I have that same thing too, where I'm like, wait, what chapter was that I wrote? Like, people think that like, because you've read it over and over, but the fact is you've read it over and over to edit it so many times that you're like, it's because it's not a streamline for you as the author. You're going all over the place.
So probably one of the coolest things that I did was when I talked about the 4 buying types. All right. I get a lot of great feedback in my reviews, people emailing me, or customers, clients of ours. They love that chapter. If you know what the 5 love languages are by Gary Chapman, he talks about how everyone has a certain way that they feel love. Quality time, gift giving,
acts of service. Yeah. Words of affirmation.
Yeah, you get it. And so similar with sales, there is a buying type. People buy a certain way, and based on how they're presented to, or really just their style of purchase. All right. And so one of the main ones that we love is when Mrs. Jones is what I call an entertainer. And Mrs. Jones, that's an entertainer, gets super excited when you come to the door. And she can't wait to talk to you because you're just someone at her door and she just wants to have some social interaction. And you're just like, man, this lady, oh, she's offering me water now. Oh my gosh. Oh, and she has a sandwich. What? And she's like, oh, come in, Andreas, you cutie pie, get out of the heat. Come on in. I got a glass of water for you. You just tell me what you're doing. I would love to hear about it. And as a salesperson or college student, you're like, oh wow, I want more people like this, right? So those are people that are excited. They can't wait to chat with you. And if you can determine that person earlier, it's a lot easier to sell to them in the way that they like to buy. Well, that person does not like to be bogged down by details. For an example, they don't want to know every little thing that your product has to offer. All right, because they're going to get bored. They want to know about the exciting things. How is this going to make me feel when I do this? What are the top 3 things of the no-brainers of why I should buy this thing from you? Just tell me that and do it with an exciting tone and I will buy it, right? But when I go into like details, there's another specific type of buyer that buys that way. And that's like a security style buyer. They're the person that is very analytical. They talk a little bit faster, right? Well, how does this work? Blah, 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 blah. But then they're also the type of person where they need to know every little detail. We all know someone like that. They're going to buy a car. Yes. It doesn't matter. It's not so much about, oh, I just want a convertible. It's no, I want a convertible that has leather seats. I want it to have this type of engine in it. I want it to have, carbon fiber
liters, miles per gallon.
Yep. What are the miles per gallon? Like they want to break it down to the T. What kind of brake calibers you got, whatever. They want to know every little nitty detail to feel confident to buy it. And so if you can identify those people early, that when you're pitching your product, now you got to adjust, right? And you got to sell it to the way that they are most excited to purchase your product, right? And that's by making sure you don't miss anything. All right. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. So good.
So that section of the 4 different buyer types, I mean, it's just so good. I mean, because if you can, it just gives you a little bit of a leg up, understands how to mirror people, and those types of things can be super, super, super valuable, super, super important. So that was probably one of the biggest things that I would say that most people get pretty jazzed about.
What are you noticing? Let me ask you this question. Of your clients from the High Ticket Sales Academy that you have, or the people that have responded to your book that have read it and be like, maybe ask for feedback or try to reach out to you through your at chat Aleo on Instagram or LinkedIn, what are they asking for? And what are some of the more like common mistakes that you see people make? Like, so you have a new client at High Ticket Sales Academy. They want to learn this process from you. Yep. And the first thing I'm assuming you have to do is kind of like figure out what point A is before you can get them to point B. So you go and kind of go under the hood and you check, hey, what are these things that you're not doing or are doing well? And when you open the hood, what are the most common things? So maybe I'm someone listening to this going, man, why would I like what am I doing wrong that I could avoid as I'm watching this?
Man, another good question. So it's really interesting because when most people come into High Ticket Sales Academy, some people, they've already been a closer and they're trying to get to the next level. Those are the fun ones to tweak because it's almost like a car, right? How do we make it faster? And when you listen to a live call of that person, you can really start to pick out the little nitty gritty things that you can just do this a little bit more, or hey, let's change this way you phrased it, or hey, your close just isn't clean. And so that one's a little bit different. So I'm gonna bring in like a brand new person because I think that's just the easiest. Because a lot of people here, you would be brand new, right? That are listening to this podcast, and so majority of people, high ticket sales closing is a lot different than I would say a lot of different other types of sales. So in regards to business sales, even door to door, in the realm of, there's not as much rapport on the front end. And so we learn about rapport, which, you all should know that means trust, right? Building trust with the client. Well, usually, especially when you're going door to door, like you're spending a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes explaining who you are, where you're from, showing all these names. And if you do that in a high ticket sales call, that can bog people down. All right. So the structure, what I call the conversation structure, is probably the most valuable piece for someone brand new, and understanding what does a good sales conversation look like? Not a script. I don't like calling it a script. I like conversation structure, because you really should be having a conversation with people. And so we break down things like how to set an agenda, right, in the very beginning. And an agenda is letting your client know that, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. I want to dive into X, Y, and Z. And at the end of this call, if it makes sense, we'll talk about how, we can help each other and get you into our program, right? That lets them know that, hey, you're in control in a nice way. All right. So you always set an agenda after you've built maybe like a 5 minutes of rapport. Okay. And then we go into the discovery. And I believe this is where the sale is always made. All right. And the discovery is really where you're diving into goals, you're diving into challenges, you're diving into, what is their idea? If you're selling an offer, like, how to market a product, tell me about your business. What are your numbers right now? What are you trying to achieve? And so, but then also getting into the deeper things, like, why do you want to grow that brand? Why do you want to grow that business? Why is this important to you now? Urgency, building these things that need to happen for someone to make a decision. And so we talk a lot about that in our program, where there are 5 things that need to happen for someone to make a decision, to feel comfortable to make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the biggest pieces. Having a really good conversation structure, so you know how to sell it the right way, where it's not sleazy and it's sales tactic like, but it's just a conversation. It's not a sales script. That would be the biggest thing, because I can get someone to follow that stuff and they'll make sales, but I can make it better. But that's always the foundation. Once we nail that down, we can take you anywhere.
Beautiful, dude. That's really good. I think it's important for people to recognize that difference exists, right? Because it's a bigger number and it's a bigger investment. So that's huge. If for you, who's the person that would be benefiting from this course? Like if I'm listening to this, I'm like, all right, what would I need, or what do I look like, right? In the book field, we talked about, like, family with kids and school, right? Like what's that, but for your sales academy?
Yep. So, I mean, I would say we have 3 different avatars. I mean, main avatar is someone that has either never been in sales and they're thinking, hey, I want to make more money. How do I do that without having, this crazy doctorate education? And how can I do it quickly, learn something that is obviously a career that's in need. All right. So there's that avatar, which is someone that's never done it before. Okay. Second avatar is someone that has done sales and they're looking to jump into a different type of sales industry and they want to ramp very quickly. Right. So whenever you start a new sales job, there's always this ramp period and they usually give you 3 months. And if you don't make it in 3 months, what do?
Cut you loose.
They cut you. So, I talk to a lot of people that come to me that say, hey, I know what high ticket sales is. I want to get into it, but I want to crush it and I want to help find a job. So that's another person. And then we've seen a big uptick in coaches or someone that just started their first training program, and they coach people, a life coach, and they're trying to either train their team to be better, or if they're in the very beginning stages, they're still taking sales calls and they need to create a system for themselves. All right. Because they're really good at the coaching side, but they know the sales and the marketing side is where they struggle. And so we see those people too, but it's kind of a mix. But I would say it's mainly people that want a new career, they want to make more money. And then number two is people that are trying to, sharpen the saw, up their sales game, that kind of thing.
Bro, super cool. Super, super cool.
Thank you.
Before we move into any Southwestern stuff and talk a little bit about your career, is there anything that people should know as far as like how to contact you, where to go to find your sales academy? How can people like go reach you and or buy your book? Like,
sure.
Let's talk about. I got mine on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that it's available, or for now is it still?
For now, it's on Amazon. It will be on Barnes & Noble, Target. So when people listen to this in a couple months, it'll be there. But highticketsalesacademy.com. You can find us there. It's on the book as well, all that stuff. You can also go to, you got a quick question?
I was going to say, we'll put that on the link too, on the description notes. So if you guys are just wanting to scroll down on the description notes and tap that, you can just go straight there as well.
Yep. And then if you just type in High Ticket Sales Academy in Google, you can find our Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn. All right. As well. And then we also have a Facebook page, so you can see some content stuff we share there. And then last thing is, in addition to that, if you actually go to chadaleo.com, you can download a free audiobook. And so that is going to be coming out shortly. So if you go to chadaleo.com, you should be able to bring up that link. I believe as of right now, it's chadaleo.com. If that does not show up because there's a change by my team, it would be chadaleo.com/audio. Cool.
And again, we'll put all those links as they're updated and stuff on the notes below. So just scroll down and tap on that and get a hold of my man. By the way, we're not sponsored by High Ticket Sales Academy, just so you guys know.
Not yet.
We could be, but we could
be. I love the club.
Oh, I love it. Okay, man, let's dive into some book stuff. Your first episode, we talked a little bit more about your Southwestern career, but in case people don't want to scroll all the way back and find that, because
that was the early days. That was man, that was early. I saw that video and I was like, oh my gosh. That was like my first podcast interview, and I had like a whiteboard behind with all these sticky notes, and I was in my apartment standing up, and I think I had my laptop like sitting on a stack of books. So it was like I had a standing desk, right? Those are the early days.
We've both grown.
Right?
I think that was a time we were still recording on Zoom, and I was using my plug-in Apple headphones as a microphone. Like,
man, nuts.
Times change, we grow. Look at that.
Thank you.
So in case people are liking this conversation and that way they don't have to scroll all the way back, let's talk a little bit about first of all, how did you get into Southwestern? How did you hear about it? Where were you? What were you doing? And for some people who I didn't actually go over this at the beginning, so I'm just going to mention this now. So you sold 3 summers, 2011, 12, and 13, originally from Michigan, and was it Eaton Rapids, Michigan. I always wanted to say Easton Rapids, but it's Eaton Rapids, Michigan. You went to Central Michigan University, and you have a really cool story of just for people who do know what's coming up, is you have a really cool story of the ramp. If your Southwestern career canvassing charts are like the ideal canvassing charts for most people, right? Where you had a solid first summer, then you grew, but then you blew up. So we'll probably dig into some of those in probably a little bit different way than we did last time, but still worth mentioning because I think that was one of the really cool stories that we had early on. So let's jump in. How did you hear about this? Where were you? What were you doing?
Man, what was I doing? I was in my dorm room, Central Michigan University. I believe I was in Call-Harvey. Actually, no, it was Call-Harvey. And get a phone ring, as many of you do. Bring, right? Hey, what's going on, man? This is Maurice Howell. And Maurice Howell, who is this guy? And why does he have so much energy? He's like going through my mind, right? And he's like, I'm calling you about an internship. I'm like, internship? What? And did I apply for an internship? Oh, no, you didn't apply for something. Your buddy Dan, right? Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you. Actually, referred you. So Maurice got me from some of you full-time recruiters. Was not because I filled something out. It was because somebody else filled something out. He interviewed and then asked them for a referral of list of names and anyone you can think of that would want to do this. And that's how he came across me. He called on me. So the rest is history. Obviously, of course, Maurice Howell. I meet him at the Grand Traverse Pie Company and tells me about this door-to-door thing. I don't even think I really understood what it was. Okay, cool. The people make money, $8,000 on average a year, whatever. And it was, you really don't know what you're doing until you actually do it. Right.
Yeah.
And Maurice, if you know Maurice is just a high energy guy, as most recruiters are, and just a cool dude. And I was like, all right, this sounds cool. And I just remember going to my parents and being like, Mom, Dad, guess what? I think I got an internship this summer. And of course they say, oh, honey, that is so great. Where are you working at this summer? Who are you working with? And are you gonna have to move to Grand Rapids or whatever, the biggest city in Michigan at the time, or one of the biggest, Detroit, whatever. And I said, well, it's better. I'm actually gonna go to Nashville. Oh, Nashville, what? Well, it's training in Nashville, Mom. And then, oh, training. Wow. They want to train, and it's like, yep. For a whole week, Mom. Wow. That sounds really good. And then we'll be going to Minnesota for the summer. And in Minneapolis, really? You're going to go to Minneapolis too? That's so cool. And Mall of America. And my dad's like, what are you going to be doing? Well, I'm actually going to be talking to families about educational books. What do you mean? My dad's like starting to dig. I think I'm going to be knocking on doors. You're what? Right? You're going to be doing what? And yeah, what, door-to-door sales? Yeah, no, you're not doing that. I'm like, what? Whatever. And so in that moment, my mom's like, is this a scam? Like what, and obviously I got some papers. I showed them to my parents, whatever. And they were not on board. As most parents, of course, were not. So, and I remember going back to Maurice, calling them, yeah, Mom and Dad are not on board. Hey, it was a good try. And then Maurice does the thing where, hey, well, I'd love to meet them, right? And, grab coffee with your parents and tell them about what it is. And he's like, I think if they meet me, they'll let you come aboard. And so Maurice schmoozed my parents, and they were just afterwards, they were like totally different. Man, that Maurice guy seems really cool. He says he really believes in you. He's not going to let you fail. Go get him, son. And so next thing I know is I'm selling books door to door, right? But I still don't really know what I'm doing, right? You just don't really get it until you do it, right? And so that's how I got started. And I remember just doing like, the script trainings and all that stuff. And before I left Nashville, I don't think it really hit me what I was about to get myself into, right?
Yeah, dude, nobody really knows. And then even like they, to their credit, they do a good job of trying to be as realistic as possible in Nashville, but you can't until you get out and start doing it. It's hard to make that real.
Well, I think I understood what it was, right? I'm not an idiot, but it was the rejection side of it that I just had no idea, and the hard work and the mental grind that I was, and the muscle that I had to build and work through, right? And so that was the part that I had no idea, because when you think internship and what the colleges have told you of internship is paper pusher, super easy, grit your college credits, show that you have experience, right? And so I was expecting just something, it's going to be a piece of cake. Cool. I'm talking to families about education. Big deal. You don't realize what you're actually doing. I don't realize that I'm starting my own business. I'm getting all these, leads from scratch, and, which is the best training ever. Right. So, but that was the crazy part for me.
So wild, dude. And when you get out that summer, I remember last time we talked, you kind of shared a little bit about the story from like how that summer went in general, but did you get off to a fast start? How did you end up, like, as you reflect back and you think about that time, what was some of the highlights for you then?
You just made me think of, this is not a pony story, but it's a funny story.
Let's
So,
hear it. Yes.
so Maurice Howell, the guy that brought me in, it's really funny. So when I was following him, when brand new people, you always like have a day where you follow, experienced dealer, whatever, just in the very beginning as you're brand new, just so you can like see the job done, great habits. Well, the whole day goes by. Maurice still hasn't made a sale. And this is the first time, it's like day 3 on the book field. It was like my day to follow him, or day 2 or something. And the whole day, it's like 5 o'clock. No one's bought anything. And in my mind, I'm like, what if he's going to sell something, And and at this point, the whole point is when you're an experienced dealer, right? Well, then you're going to go watch the brand new person for just a couple of hours, just to, give them some tips before they really go out on their own. And so this was not like I was struggling and I'm following Maurice. It was just the protocol. And, he says, all right, man, well, hey, here, you go for a while. I could tell he was a little bit frustrated because, he probably wanted to look like he was doing well. I think it was like 6 o'clock. So he did get some reps with the gravy period too. And just nothing was vibing, but it was also early in the summer, And anyways, so I get the bag and I'm starting to go door to door, and literally like the next house ends up buying, Ask Me's. And my confidence in my head probably blew up, like, I'm going to crush this thing. Right. And I just remember Maurice just, rolling his eyes, but, obviously being encouraging and, whatever. And it was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Why is that?
Because it was literally like the second house I ever knocked on bought something from me. And yes, it might have raised my confidence, but I think I blew my head up just a little too big. And I was like, this is going to be a piece of cake. And I almost inflated this vision of how the summer really was going to go. Right.
That makes sense.
But anyways, I was feeling on top of the world after that moment. You just made me think about that. Oh man, that's so funny. I'm going to have to remind Mo about that next time we talk.
Oh man, we love Mo. He's a good dude. You guys were on here with Dylan on a group once as well. That was a good episode too.
Yep.
Going through your career, why come back? Why did you decide more summers?
So we did obviously year 1, we did a year 2 and a year 3. So year 1, as I got I would say I have a very similar story to most people. Hey, I hit Sizzler. That's exciting for my first year, but I was off schedule like mad. I probably, I was, if I could track, I wish I would have, but man, I was one of those people that was really struggling with rejection, feeling like I wasted my time. And I would have to get out of my own head. I'd sit in my car longer when I should have been knocking on doors. And then there was days where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go do my own thing. I'm going to go explore Minneapolis off schedule. Right.
Nice.
And
yeah,
go to the gym, I'll work out a little bit, so, but it was really because I was running from the fear of rejection, or the day's been bad, or no one's bought so far. And, so there was a lot of off schedule. And, so when I thought of my second summer, I actually made a promise to myself going to summer 2. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this again. I'm going to be on schedule and, whatever. And so my promise to myself was I will never leave this company until I feel like I got the true Southwestern experience, which was I was on schedule. I did exactly what I was told to do for the whole summer. And I didn't miss a beat. Okay. And so I just didn't want to be one of those people that was an early champion or a 1 year summer guy that never reached his potential. And so going into my second summer, I was like, this is going to be the year. Well, summer 2, I didn't deal with that stuff, or I didn't combat it before year 2 started. And so I still had the same issues, but I still hit Sizzler and I did grow, to whatever. People want to talk units, just shy of 3,000 units my second summer, but I probably worked 25% of it. Okay. And so it was, I love that, 1 unit, $8. But anyway, so just to give you an idea, it wasn't, I was very off schedule again, and I started off strong, but it was a different challenge that I had, because I forgot that year 2, I brought out a team of like some really close friends, and all of them quit within the first 2 weeks, like 4 of them.
Holy shit. Where were you selling?
So I was selling in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
So you went to Virginia.
Stafford. And so everyone quit except,
Cool.
I actually had a couple more team members, I forgot, that did not quit, but my closest friends quit. Okay. So people that didn't quit, Sarah Majeski, Sarah Nanini, for some of you guys might remember as that. She was on my team, and she was someone that stuck around that summer. But anyways, which you should get her on the podcast. That'd be great. But anyways, so my team, my close friends quit. All right. Sarah was not a close friend at this point. We were just, worked together. And so, but she stuck it through, right? Which was awesome. But my close friends, guys I went to high school with that I believed and I thought could really do it, quit. And that just dropped my spirits. Rejection of that is totally different because you brought them out there. They spent money to get there. I feel like I let them down, and it led to me being off schedule year 2. And, like I said, just shy of 3,000 units, was terribly off schedule. And going to my third summer, it was 2013. And I just, man, after 2012, I guess I'll back up a little bit. My closest friends now, Dylan Barr and one of my buddies, Will Hemmert, they both crushed their second summer. They both hit like triple growth and over like 6,000 units or something, or just shy of 6,000 units. And we were all the same year, or at least Dylan and I were. And and I'm a little bit competitive with, and Dylan was
especially with Dylan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because we're good buddies, and before we weren't actually, we were actually almost like rivals a little bit because we were the same year. We're the guys that stuck it out. We both hit Sizzler first year and second, whatever. And he just crushed it year 2, and he was a rock star. I mean, triple growth from year 1 to year 2, and all this stuff. Like the man on campus, everyone wanted to talk to, and they should, because he just did something incredible, right? And he really paved the way for me. But him and Will. Love those people to death, and I love them for this because it was the thing that needed to happen. They would tease me a little bit, and I would, be like, man, next year is going to be the different. And they would be like, oh yeah, all right, you said you're going to be on schedule year 2, and you weren't. So what's going to make it so different about year 3, right? And so they would like tease me in a fun way, and for me, that was just fuel. That was just burning inside of me, and the jokes became the thing that I needed to just say, you know what, screw it. I'm going all in. I'm going to be the silent assassin, and I'm going to come out of nowhere year 3. I'm actually going to do the job the way that needs to be done, because I promised myself that I would never leave this company until I got the Southwestern experience. And you don't get that experience unless you freaking do the job the way you were taught, right?
Yep.
And you give it everything you got. Doesn't matter how many units you sold, just you gave it everything you got. You will get the Southwestern experience, and units don't mean success. For anyone listening here, whether you're a 10,000 unit producer, I know some of those, and they're not that successful. And whether you're one, I know people that were a 1 summer and they're crushing it at life, but they got the Southwestern experience. Okay. But anyways, my point is this. All right. So going into my third summer, I committed to that. I had never leave. And this was going into my senior year of college. And so it was that feeling of, how long am I going to do this? I don't want to do this for 10 years. But I don't want to look back at this and regret this moment. And looked at it as, hey, this is my 12-week summer. And I set some big goals. The goal was 8,000 units for that summer.
That's a bump.
And I was talking when we shared our goals to our teams and within our organizations, that Dylan and Will, they were, wow, all right, guy that just sold only 2,700 units is going to go to 8,000. Okay. There's people that have been selling for 10 years have never sold 8,000 units. Right. And anyways, so there was a little bit of that, and they obviously hadn't done it either. So part of them, why would they believe I could do it? Because that was their goals. That was only 2,000 more units than what they sold. Right. What would make it, so for them, it was way more realistic when they were sharing that. Everyone just kind of looked at me like, yeah, okay, Chad, whatever. And so that's where that silent assassin came in. That was my theme. All right. And so I was going to be the guy that came out of nowhere. People were like, who is this guy? I was going to be top in the pace setter every week. And I already created in my mind what was going to happen. Right. They say things happen twice in your life, once in your mind, once in reality. Okay. And so.
Ooh, that's good. Write that down.
Write that down. Yeah, write that down, everybody. But it's true. I lived in this moment. I envisioned myself getting the big check award, right? All these things. And it was an incredible thing. I was so motivated, right? That I was willing to do whatever it took to be successful, come hell or high water, right? I was listening to, advanced sales trainings. I created my own stuff that was motivational throughout the day. I forget the guy's name, but the guy that talks about you got to be, if you want to be successful, you got to want it so bad, as bad as you want to breathe. That's when you'll be successful. Eric Thompson,
Eric Thomas, Eric Thompson, something like that. Yeah, he's a football player, and
I was listening to, like, I had
a motivational speech. Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to, like, I had a great motivational, like 12 track, like songs with Nick's motivation that I would always play at Gravy, and it would be the same thing every day. So it was this, system. My body was ready for it. It just got me hyped up. It was gravy and whatever. But anyways,
that's awesome.
Fast forward to the end of the summer, and ended up selling only for 12 weeks. I wanted to sell for 14. All right. But I only sold for 12. I do regret this. I'll tell you guys how I finished in a second. I do regret this a little bit, because I know if I would have sold for an extra 2 weeks, which would have been like Delta Force, which is what they called people that sold the extra 2 weeks. Is that what the term was? Delta Force, like, right?
That. There was like a little part of the blip that was what I was called, I think.
I think it was Delta Force or whatever. It's people that sold an extra 2 weeks outside of 12. And it was usually a lot of people that were full-time, right? Because that was their job in their summer or whatever. And I wanted to do that, but I got caught up in emotions and, missing people back home a little bit. And then also I had Mort want me to spend time with them. And they didn't have the greatest summer. And so they were kind of probably pulling me in a little. And so there was that element as well. And so I ended up leaving the book field, but, I went home with, the 12 weeks, whatever. And so I actually finished at just shy of 7,000 units, like 6,900 units sold for you unit heads. All right. And then I had a team. So I think I finished at like maybe 75 or 77. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. It was like 75 with logins or something. Then my team, I don't remember what my team did. Maybe like 5,000, something small, nothing crazy. But I was close. Okay. And I knew if I would have stayed, I could have hit it. But anyways, going from year 2 of only doing like 2,500 and units, 2,600, whatever, to going over to almost 8,000.
That's a jump.
It was a jump, but I actually did the job. I went every single day. I worked the hours. I worked late some nights, most nights, right? I never had a 0 day that summer. It was just, I was just moving. I was always in the top 10 on the charts, whatever, pace setter, but it was just this fuel. And yeah, I went after it. And so I bought my first suit after that summer, and on the tag on the inside, it says Silent Assassin on one side. The other side had my name on it, but it was
put that on the pace setter, Silent Assassin on the pace setter.
I did have that in there.
Let's go.
Silent Assassin, Aleo, right? So, but anyways, I mean, it was a lot of it was prep. And, if you're someone that's listening to this and you're getting ready to sell for the first summer or second or third, and you're just trying to pick something away from this that you can apply, man, prep before, when you can just do all that stuff prior to that summer. I mean, you will crush if you out prep people. Most people don't. And that's why they don't grow. They don't do anything different.
Yeah. I was having first of all, thanks for sharing that story, because that's legit. And I know there's a story within that story that we're going to get to as a ponytail, probably from your third summer, that I'm sure we could revisit. I love that story, so it'd be great if you could tell it again. But I love what you said there about prep. There was who was it? Whatever. Someone recently, we were having this conversation about not just prep for the summer, but post summer was what they did that was really well. For example, like a lot of people that go sell books, and this is me included, you're in school, maybe you're full-timing, so your spring is just bananas. So then you get to the summer, it just kind of comes up, it's all of a sudden like parent coffee, and then you're at sales school, and the whole time you forgot to like prep your living situation back home. At the end of the summer, you forgot to prep your, like set up your school classes. And there were so many book kids who had a hard time finishing strong, because that starts to creep up from back home, and you can't really ignore that. Like, especially if you're a student, where all of a sudden it's like, hey, you haven't picked out your classes for the fall. You haven't figured out where you're going to live once you get home from the summer. and it takes up your mind. And so they were talking about even like prepping, not just for the summer, but prepping for the rest of the year, so that when they were hitting week 11 and 12, which is like your most precious week, because that's literally supposed to be when you're like, you have all the names, it's the end of the summer, you've sharpened your skill as much as it can be for that 12 weeks. That's your harvesting period. And if your brain is like even halfway out the door thinking about what classes you're going to take because you might get kicked out of school, or you know what I'm saying, because
Sure.
it just so I love that concept of the preparation, that you mentioned, that because I think it's not touched upon enough, and a lot of your life and your success seems to be based on just you've talked about, you sit at the beginning of the year, you set your big hefty goal at the beginning of the year, you break it down. When you were writing your book, you like broke it down and crystallized it. Like a lot of your method of success is prep. You share the fail to plan quote, or plan to fail quote, like. So the theme I'm getting from you and your lifestyle and the way that you approach life is the best way to be prepared for volatility is having your mind and your physical prepped, so that when you have to improvise, you're a lot more sure-footed based on plans you set. Really cool.
Yep. No, I
Really-
appreciate that. And I just want to add one little thing on that. The most, I would say the most successful people, just from that point that you shared, books, relationships. I think this is a good, segue and whatever, I don't know. But is just understanding when will distractions arise and how can I eliminate them? It's almost like being on a sales call when it comes to objection handling. How can I beat, I already know what objection's coming, but how can I cover it before they bring it up? Right. And then you can diffuse it way earlier. And it's the same thing with distractions, right? Like you're thinking ahead of, hey, can I have everything planned prior to? So it's this moment is all I'm focused on. This is it. Right. And when I think about relationships and I think about being a great husband, I think about being a great dad, it's already looking at my calendar ahead a week in advance, maybe a month in advance, and start thinking about, what distractions, what are things that are happening already that I need to fit into my life schedule and avoid this happening. Because I don't want someone that says you work all the time. I don't want someone that says you haven't been to a kid's soccer game because I planned something I didn't realize and I, went off the wayside and all these different things and last minute. And man, that quote about, those that fail to plan, they plan to fail is so true, right?
Yep.
So true. So,
Amen. It's interesting. Can I ask you a tangential question, maybe personal and just kind of off the just way left? My wife is a counselor. So she listens to these like podcasts, and actually from day one, before we got a marriage counseling, like from day one of our marriage, we got marriage because we were like, it's better to have this and just be able to have this space to talk instead of getting a marriage counselor when you need it instead of when you just to keep it healthy. And she sent me this podcast and they were talking about kind of this. It was she sent it to me because she thought about she didn't sell books, but she's heard the podcast, and she obviously a lot of my life right now is dealing with memories of Southwestern, right? And so she was like, hey, this reminded me of the way that people and the book view book people. I shouldn't say it like that, but she's like, book kids approach like the summer, which is like the podcast talking about like in a marriage situation, you know, prep for like, hey, your culture, your principles, crystallizing your goals together as a couple. And so since that's a big part of your life, is that something that and you're just recently married? Have you thought about doing that with your marriage? And if this is too personal a story for Bizler,
No, this is good. No, this is good. So Abby and I we actually went to premarital counseling, and we've done a lot of this stuff. And so just like the same thing you talked about, it's, hey, how do we get ahead of problems before they arise? If you talk to any married couples, all right, there's going to be challenges. That's why we always celebrate people when they say I've been married for 10, 25, 40, 60, right? Years. But they all have one thing in common. Storms will come.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a matter of being prepared for that storm and not. But then there's also that element of, open communication. And I would say that's a huge thing that I have learned growing up, right? We learn lessons and we fail. And how do we learn? Well, we fail a lot. And whether it was in past relationships, you figured out what worked, what didn't work, what you did wrong, what you should have done better, what they could have done better, and all these things, right? And we're all just humans in this, world that's spinning in the middle of nowhere. Who knows? But what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, you just, I think the biggest thing is you find that right person, and you feel confident to be real enough with them and communicate and all that stuff. But you realize that, hey, it's important for me to have a plan in advance, to know, that there are things that are going to happen. How do we get out of these, or how do we, obviously battle test? I think that is super, super important. I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing that too. I mean, you've been married longer than I have. I've only been married for what, 3 weeks now. And
I'm a year and a half in, so it's just pretty rookie myself. But
I mean, hey, it's a year longer than me. And so, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but for the people that I have talked to that have been married, they talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's that don't go to sleep, whatever. I know this isn't a marriage, podcast, but
yeah.
But just all about planning, man. It aligns with so many different things, not just, business goals and sales, etc.
I love that. So sorry, so that's super tangent from Southwestern, but I'm like, you just got married. I wonder if he's been doing this, because that's kind of the theme in my life, is just like doing that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let me ask you some rapid fire questions. Going to trigger some memories of your Southwestern career, and then we'll jump into some ponytails. If any stories come up from these questions, rapid fire doesn't mean you have to answer them quickly. It's just more like the basic ones. All right, number one, what was your favorite territory that you sold in under the 3 summers, from a standpoint of like Virginia versus Minnesota versus wherever?
Oh man, I mean, most people, I would assume that they choose the territory they sold the most in. So I'm going to shoot with good old Katy, Texas.
Wow, the good old, that is probably true. Katy, Texas. So that's your 3rd summer. What was your favorite kind of turf to sell in? Like big break, middle income country, low income country, suburbia?
Oh man, I love big brick. I don't know, something about people that had a lot of confidence behind the door, or that snootiness. It was almost a challenge to me, but it helped me raise my game a little bit. I just enjoyed those people. I always had fun with them, and that was a lot of that big brick. I don't even have to explain it. Just that was the spot for me.
Interesting.
I'm sneaking into all those neighborhoods with the gates. I'm finding a way. Mailman comes through. Guess who's coming right after you?
Chad the Bookman.
Yep. What are you doing in here? Oh, that's not a big deal. I don't smoke, ma'am. Right? We all know that joke.
No, wait. What's that joke?
But say that what?
I didn't hear. I've never heard.
Oh, you don't know that one? I don't know who said it. It was it Ritzer or Mark Rao is the one who said this in his advanced sales training, where if someone ever said, hey, no soliciting, or they say, hey, you're not supposed to be here, do you have a permit? He'd be like, oh, ma'am, I don't smoke. And then you just like keep going and do his approach. And it was just, and then people would be like, huh? They would just be so dumbfounded. But
that's
that was
good.
A good one.
That's a good one. Speaking of that, speaking of advanced sales, the next question is, what was your favorite advanced sales tape?
Ooh. Man, my favorite advanced sales tape. Ron Alford was my favorite advanced sales tape. Love that one.
So good.
It wasn't even a tape; it was a CD. Let's get that right. In my time, it was a CD.
Advanced sales CD. That's right.
Yeah, him and Matt Atchison, those are some of my 2 favorites.
Dude, Matt Atchison, his advanced sales is so good. He had 2, but they were both gold. And Ron, I mean, come on. What was your favorite HQ?
Stafford HQ. So that was that was in Virginia, right outside of DC. We had a host dad that sold books back in the 70s or the 80s.
You got to get me in touch with him if you still.
A one summer guy. He was a Marine. He became an elite sniper in the Marines. I mean, guy works at the Pentagon, just like the man. So if you want to make a note to ask Chad about who his host dad was, anyways, he hosted me, two other team members, and Sarah Majeski, Nini, for those that don't know, also was with us in that house, and Josiah Fogel, if that rings a bell for some folks. But we just had an amazing situation. I mean, when you think about great host families, they had steak for you on the weekends. They had meals already made for you at night. Like, they treated you like their own kids. I had rice, chicken in a package, like, just open the fridge. Here it is. I mean, he would buy us groceries, right? This guy did not even, he did everything. And
gold.
Just Saturdays, I didn't even want to go to Saturday meetings or Sunday meetings, because I wanted to just hang out at my host dad's house and just relax. He had the world's most comfortable couch. We actually did a host. He did host our one of our Sunday meetings, but that was That was the best, man. And we had a great HQ, a great breakfast spot. I mean, we talk about Stafford HQ a lot between those people.
I love
was-
that. Well, funny that you say that. Favorite breakfast spot is the next one.
Mike's Diner was in, which I heard that it actually is not there anymore by
No.
Josiah. But Mike's Diner was the place. I mean, that was a blast. Yeah, we did the can for execs, on the highway. It was like a freeway, right there. That was we always finished our execs doing that. Me, Josiah, and Sarah. Ah, man.
Gold stuff, bro.
Best way to not take yourself too serious.
Heck yeah. I'm only bringing this one up because I know you were off schedule. Sometimes we have guests that weren't off schedule, which, by the way, you said you wanted the full Southwestern experience. I think being off schedule is part of the full. I think if you have one summer where you're fully on and one summer where you got off schedule a little bit, I think there's something about being off. I'm not encouraging if you're a first year listening to this, because some of you are, go knock on the next door. Don't get off
Don't
schedule.
make it sound like it's a bad thing. You know, you should. I mean, if you can push through, I would love to have been someone that never got off schedule.
Yeah. But also, it was fun. So what was your favorite off schedule story?
Oh, man. What was my favorite off schedule story? The one thing I never did, I never got off schedule with other people. So I almost regret that. I never did the go meet up with someone else thing. A lot of people did that. Go, whatever. I never did that. So, but I definitely, when I was in Minnesota, my first summer, obviously I'm not far from Mall of America. So what am I going to go do? I walked that thing for like 5 hours because, so that was cool. Explored the Mall of America and had a blast just doing road roller coasters, that kind of stuff. Just because I was like, hey, I'm here. If anything, at least if I'm going to be off schedule, at least I'm going to make freaking memories out of this. I'm not just going to go get some freaking ice cream cone and then
watch a movie
myself in my car,
Yeah. I went to the movies.
Nice. Yeah.
Alone. Yeah, that's why I found peace going to movies alone. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway.
Hey, that's okay. That's all right. It helps you get out of your own head. All that good stuff.
It doesn't, man. 3 more. I have what was your favorite product to sell or tack on?
Ooh. MUFUs were the easiest tack on to anything. You could sell those to people in high school because it was like a funny thing just to go through, whatever parents. Those were great. I don't know if they still make those, right? But they do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
And they're still good. They're still
easiest tack on to anything. Oh, you can get these for your grandma's or your sister's kids and
donate them to the local school.
Donate them here. They're awesome, right? Those are the easiest tack on. If you can tack those on, you just open it up to like one of the pages. I forget if I had one with me. We always had like just the one that was like the funniest one. You always read to people and they're like, okay, I'll buy that.
Was it cow? Cow's a green. I got this. A cow is a big, heavy animal that turns green grass and turns it into white milk. Nobody knows how a cow does this. Cows don't talk about it.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Yeah, cows don't talk about it. Yeah, that was a good one. There was Dylan, obviously Dylan Barr is super funny, right? So Dylan had another one that was so funny. I should ask him what it was. I forget. But anyway, so yeah, so reading those things, whatever. And then my favorite thing to sell. Ooh, I mean, I sold a lot of just Advantage book sets, like the 4. So a lot of those. So I would just say those. I love talking about that stuff. I don't know. I was someone in school that did not. It wasn't that I struggled. I just didn't ever do my homework, and I hated sitting at the table with my mom when my mom would like try to help me with stuff. And so I almost put myself in their shoes and I could remember and paint the picture of what it was like and show them a product and say, hey, I would have used this. And I actually think I would have. I believed I would have. So if you want to get good at sales, you got to believe in what you sell. So a little advanced sales training. But yeah, the 4-book set.
Heck yeah. What was your best sales day? Now, sometimes people mention best sales day as far as like units. It doesn't have to be that. It could be like the best day that you had on the book field, maybe from an emotional standpoint or a mental standpoint, where it's like maybe you didn't sell a ton of books, but something cool happened to you, or that might be the ponytail. I don't know, but
yeah, listen, I'll just go with I don't know. I think my best day was like 290 or something in units in a day, something like that. It was just one of those like fire days where it was just boom, everybody's getting something, baby. Come on, let's keep moving. I had someone following me, right? So that makes it better.
And that transitions us to the last one. What was your best follow day? Whether you followed or they followed you?
Man, oh man, my best follow day. Oof. You know, there's a couple to choose from. I can think of one that I think I shared last time, but it's just I'm not going to share that one. Not the next time. You go if you want to find that, go way back and you can listen to it. But anyways, fun fall day. I remember having Sarah behind me, Sarah Majeski, and I think Sarah came off like a tough couple of days, and it was just one of those times where you're just thinking, okay, how do we have just a ton of fun and just sell something? I don't care what it is, but just sell something and have a ton of fun. And oh gosh, this is not that funny, but it was really funny when you had, those things where it's like you had to be there and you had just
Yeah.
been rolling on the ground kind of things. There was one person I remember approaching this house, and we were just, it was later at night. We've sold, I don't know, we sold a couple things, whatever. So, now it's just showing them, hey, let's work till at least 9:30 at night. Right. And just because, hey, I'm going to do it even though I sold stuff, and just keep going and have fun doing it. It doesn't have to be this dreading thing. And so we go to this next house. They had the porch light on, obviously. And it was this really cool, like African-American dad and his son. And, his son, I was just like, hey, what's going on? I'm Chad, the bookman. I know all your neighbors. And hey, what grade are you in? Oh, 8th grade. Oh, cool. Boom, 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 boom. And he's just so excited to hear what I was like, you guys got to see this. And, I'm on that midnight oil high feeling, because it's like it's almost 9:30. I want to talk with my teammate on the drive home, and 9:30 is the time we stop at, whatever. But it was 9:25, whatever. And I'm just so jazzed, and I'm just like, this is my last opportunity. And anyways, the dad was just laughing. I don't know, I wasn't even probably saying anything funny. He's just like, this guy is a psycho. It's 9:30 at night, and he's like so excited to show me freaking books, right? And I'm just whatever. And he just would not let me inside, but he was laughing. When you get those people that are just like, no, there's no way, I'm not buying anything. You're just like, come on, just show me in, let me in the house, and you just feel like you can just say whatever the heck you want, and it's not a big deal because they know you're a good kid, whatever. So I'm just trying, I'm pulling out all the stops, like, all right, I'll just show you right here. And he's like, no, man, it's good. I was like, you gotta see these books. And we talked for like 15 minutes at this point. And he's laughing. His son's like, Dad, come on, please, Dad. I want to see what he has to offer. His son's like going nuts. And his dad's like, we can't, it's late. And I'm like, you can't let me leave. I was like, you can't not see these books. And he's laughing. And this after 15 minutes, because I was not going to leave. I was just, because he was playing my game a little. And he starts like closing the door. And then he shuts it. I was like, then he shuts the door. I'm like, I get on my knees, like, you got to see these books. They'll change your life. And then all of a sudden the porch light goes off. And I'm like on my knees, they'll change your, and then Sarah and I just like cried laughing. And it was, at that point, it's like 9:40, whatever, and that was the end of the day. But it was just one of those things where you just don't take yourself too seriously,
Yeah.
But that was a fun follow day, right?
That's a great lesson to teach. It's like, if you just have fun and enjoy people who are allowing you to be fun, that'll, even if they don't buy, it's still a good time.
Oh yeah, that guy was fun. I mean, he was whatever. He gave me all the names in the neighborhood. It wasn't like I was force feeding him to buy my thing, but it was just one of those. You're having fun. It's like, you just got to see this. It's so cool. I'm the crazy guy at the door. It's 9:30. Who's else gonna be there? Well, it's gonna be me, Chad the Bookman. Boom, 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 boom. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. All right, let's go into some ponytails. I don't know if you have, I mean, I know I personally requested the greatest hit, but if you have others that you also want to share or would rather share, that's also fine too. For people who are listening, this is the first time. This is when we have our guests. That's the name of our show, Ponytails. Share their favorite tales of their time selling books. It could be because someone bought a big book or a lot of books, or it could be because something happened that changed their life. It could be something funny that happened, something scary that happened. We've had the gamut. So, at this point, it's whatever you want to share. These are your ponytails, my friend. Take it away.
Oh man, we got so many ponytails to share. I don't think I shared this one on the last episode, so this might be a little bit of a newbie. But I thought of this one as you're thinking about like, what are your favorite file days? And so I did not share this one because I didn't want to take away from this. But so anyways, third summer, I'm an experienced dealer, right? This is the summer that I was just cooking. All right. And I'd sold something every single day. And of course, when you're selling a lot, you get a lot of people to follow you because your confidence is going through the roof. Your sales manager, your DSM, just like, let's feed people to this guy because he's selling. And I need people to realize that it's possible too. They can have fun at it, all this kind of stuff. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So, anyways, I get this guy that hadn't sold anything like 3-4 days. All right. And he's a first year. He's new. He's not like a B contract. He's trying to get his confidence back. Right. It's just some brand new guy that's like literally on the verge of quitting. All right. And he showed up. I told him like, hey, be on time because you're not going to leave without you. Right. Because I talked to him a little bit on the phone. And I remember Aaron being like, hey, can you let this guy follow you? He's I'll be honest, like he has a little bit of a bad attitude. He's talking about quitting. He's talking about going home, and and whatever. I don't even whatever. And so fine, sure. And like I call him, hey, what's going on? And he's just kind of like, was not rude to me, but just a little bit of that. Yeah, man, I'll be out there, whatever, this time. And yep. And I was like, well,
One
hey,
of those
like,
kids.
you either show up on time and you are in the bus or the bus is going without you. All right. And so he shows up on time, whatever. And just kind of has a little bit of a, you know how it is with those kids. It almost turns into a therapy session, as you drive the turf, where it's like, man, so how are things going? I haven't sold anything like 4 days and I've been working, he's probably just like lying to me. I've gone to every house. I got the worst territory, just vent. All right. Yep. Got the worst territory. Okay. What neighborhood are you in? Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good territory. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, whatever. So tell me everything. And he's like, and I think this was a dumb internship. I should have never came out here. I think it was like 3 weeks in or something. And I can't believe I even showed up. And, I just feel like I got in this scam and no one buys anything from anybody, right? I don't even believe you're selling anything. Hey, we'll see if we can sell something today. And that's just how it was, right? We'll see if we can sell something today. And guess what? So it's killing with kindness, right? And I said, well, hey, I'll tell you one thing. We're definitely going to sell something today. I promise you that. And then I was like, we're also going to have fun doing it. So, you're going to have to put a smile on your face and we're going to go just have a ton of fun. Does that sound good? I guess, whatever. And so day starts going on. We're obviously going to our first house. We get some demos in. It's early. No one buys anything. Boom, 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 boom. Lunchtime rolls around. We get some really good demos in. We get a couple callbacks. Nobody buys, and come back at 4. Whatever. Go back at 4, and I meet this really cool mom, doesn't buy. And then I meet another couple people that are like, oh, if you come back at 7, my husband is going to love this stuff. Like, we're for sure in. Karen down the street, Karen. All right. Karen loves this stuff. Karen really told me about it. She bought it from you yesterday. Like, we're totally in. I've already decided. Right. And I just need my husband to be there so he knows what I'm buying. So can you come back when he's here? And I never demoed her yet. So it was not a suicide call. I just said, yeah, cool. I'll come back. And I was like, this is a solid appointment. It's in the bag, whatever. 8 p.m. rolls around. I saved her for last. I was like, we're going to spend probably an extra. I told him, and at this point I hadn't sold anything, by the way. So, and he's like, you still haven't sold anything yet? I was like, oh, it always happens. We always sell something. And we was like, we got this appointment. I was like, I saved this one for last. I was like, everybody buys if they have an appointment after 8 p.m. at night. And so I think it was more like 8:30. Anyways, we roll up 8:30, walk up to the house, knock on the door, and I'm like, it always happens, baby. It always does. And opens the door is Dad. Dad comes out. What's going on? Hey, I'm Chad. I'm the book guy. Did your wife tell you I'll swing by? No. Oh, cool. Not a big deal, man. Well, hey, I don't know. Karen down the street told you I'm actually the guy that's selling the educational books or talking to all the families. And yeah, we're not interested. Oof. Are you sure? I literally talked to your wife 3 hours ago, and she was so excited for you to be home to see this stuff. All right. And in my mind, I'm like starting to have that feeling of this was like my last hat. Like this was my rabbit out of the hat to make a sale in front of this freaking douchebag over here that's telling me you haven't sold anything yet, right? And anyways, so I'm just sitting here. Are you sure? Go talk to her. Hey, blah blah blah, wife, whatever her name was. You want to look at these books? No, I'm good. Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, she's not interested. All right, well, yeah, man, have a good luck out there. Thanks. Closes the door. And is that now it's like 8:45 at night. I'm just like, wow, I have 45 minutes to try to make a sale. And this kid needs to see a sale. I haven't sold anything. I've sold literally something every single day except when this guy that keeps saying, "Oh, you haven't sold anything yet. I thought you said you're going to sell something the other day." Like, just like one of those little nag, I almost wanted to get rid of him, but it was almost that moment where I was thinking to myself, this is good. This is good. I like this. I like the pressure. I kind of like this person chirping here and there in a fun way. But I looked at him, said, "Well, we're going to find a sale somewhere else." And he said, "Oh yeah, sure we are." And I said, "It always happens, baby. It always does." And so we just go continue knocking and get a couple sit downs. People don't buy. It's now 10 o'clock at night. And he's like, "Hey man, we're supposed to be done at 9:30. I said, "We're not done until we make a sale. We're going to keep cooking." And so we keep going. Anyways, get a late sit down. I thought this was the one. Didn't sign up. Can't make a decision, Chad. It's now like 10:15 at night. And we get out and I get to the car and I look at him. I said, "It always happens, baby." He's like, "Dude, it's 10:15. Like I still have a 35-minute drive to my turf. Like, can we?" I was like, "No." I was like, "You're with me today." I was like, "I'm not on your schedule. You're on my schedule, and we're gonna find a way to make a sale today." And so, anyways, I start my car, and I'm getting ready to put it in drive, and I look at my dashboard, and my gas tank is on E, like close to E, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, shit.
well, if I'm going to keep going, I need to get gas. So, all right, we got a quick pit stop. Like we're going to the gas station and filling up the car, whatever. And anyway, so I'm going to the gas station. I'm a little bit annoyed. So I'm like, this is literally probably going to be about 20 minutes and I'm going to lose a little momentum and yada, yada, yada. And lights aren't going to be on. I'm starting to almost have that feeling of it is not going to happen. I'm not going to make another sale, and I'm like a little worried because this guy's going to win and I'm super competitive and I'm not going to let this first year tell me I'm not going to make a sale. And so anyways, so I'm getting gas. And as I'm getting gas, I noticed that there was this van that pulled up, after me. And as I was sitting there getting gas, they had a flat tire or something. And I used to work in high school. I worked at this place called Tasmanian Tire. And so I changed tires for cars, whatever. Right. And I just noticed that he was struggling to change his flat tire and put his donut tire on. And so I said, "Hey, hold on a second. I'm going to go over here and help this guy." And after I was done filling up gas and paying. And so, "Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going? Are you need some help?" Yeah, man, I have no idea. Like I've never done this before. We're on family vacation, yada, yada, yada. And so, "Cool. Yeah, I'll help you real quick." It's like 11 p.m. at night. And at this point. And so it ends up turning like 20 minutes later. And obviously I'm helping this guy, do this thing, change his tire. And he asked me, "So what are you doing out here?" He's like, "Thanks for helping." Like not many people help, with stuff like this. And especially not young people. Said, "It's the least I can do." I'm actually from Michigan. We get in the small talk and I'm out here for this internship. And "Oh, really cool. What are you doing?" "Well, I'm selling educational books that help parents and kids with schoolwork." And this is like, as we're wrapping up, really, what would you have stuff for like just older kids? Like, or what do you got? Do you have anything like, is that it? And I said, "Well, I got stuff for younger kids too." And he's like, "Well, we got a couple toddlers in the van. I don't know if you heard them talking or not, and my wife's in there and I don't know, what do you got?" And so end up demoing this guy at 11 p.m. at a gas station. All right. Buys the My Set with the Mufus and half of the Ask Me's. And anyways,
Let's go, bro.
I'm still over there. And then this first year comes up and he's just like, "Are you guys ready?" He's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Are you ready to go?" I was like, "Hey man, yeah, can you go?" I popped the trunk already. Go grab, because I always carried books with me
Yeah.
to sell, like, and give away right then and there. Go grab, My Set, Ask Me's, whatever. He's like, "What?" I was like, "Go get them." I was like, "They're buying a set of books." I was like, "I told you, it always happens," and whatever. And so that ended up making a sale at a gas station. I remember telling Aaron about that after I dropped this kid off. He's like, "You won't believe this," and it was like Aaron used to tweet it out to people, like to our team. We had a Twitter, foundation Twitter. So
You did?
that was we did. Aaron had a Twitter, foundation Twitter only. So it was like followed by all the foundation members. He would like update like leaders and stuff just in our group.
That's so smart.
Yeah, so you can communicate with everybody just in your organization easily. So
Smart, bro. People use all
yeah,
sorts of other dumb ways to communicate. That's a great way.
yeah. So, but that was a crazy one, and it was just one of those things
That's
where
awesome.
the lesson for him was, hey, you never give up on a day, right? And I like I said before, things happen twice in your life, once in your mind and once in reality. And I believe that there was going to be a sale, it's going to happen somewhere. And I didn't believe it was going to happen at 11 p.m. at a gas station by some random person that I decided to help, right? So one of those things.
Amazing.
Wild
Dude,
story. But that's one ponytail I don't think that you've heard.
that I have not heard that. I love that. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
gold.
yeah. It's like a little
That's
feel
gold.
good, all that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah. Speaking of feel good, give me the one.
The
If you could,
one.
yeah, when your third summer that you told last time. Can you give us like a quick
Ugh, the third summer, rough day. That one.
Yeah, dude. That's the best.
Oh, you want that one? That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted from me, that guy, or do you want the one where the cop buys education books for me? There's that one too. I got the blue light special. That one's a quick one. I'll just share real quick.
Okay.
Not even just in general, but basically was in a neighborhood where no soliciting, whatever. Some guy was a jerk, and said, "Get out of here! I'm calling the cops." Cool, man. Call them. I got a permit. Not a big deal, right? You're not gonna rain on my parade. I just kept going door to door. And then eventually a cop shows up, and I'm like in the middle of like door demoing this mom, and she, I'm showing her the book
Shit.
she was doing. Her head just goes, "Is that for you? I think that's for you." Yeah, probably. And then next thing I know, she's closing her door. Whatever. So I take my bag, I walk down there. Um, ends up being like a lady cop. And she's like, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" I was like, "Hey, nothing. I got a permit." And she's like, "Okay, all right, let me see it, whatever." And she's like running my stuff. "You're good." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that guy up there." I was like, "I know he called you because he said he would." And she just kind of like giggled a little bit. And then she says, "Well, what are you out here doing?" And I was like, "Well, work with all the families in, this town. We help kids with, parents help their kids with homework, math, different stuff, whatever." And she goes, "You got anything for 8th graders?" I said, "Oh yeah." And she said, I was like, "You mind if I hop in?" She's like, "Yeah, come in." And so I literally got in the passenger seat of a cop car and sold 2 math books to a cop right there in the car. And
Let's
so
go.
thank you to that man that got that cop called because she bought books from me. And that
What a
was,
referral.
oh, what a referral. Thank you. Call cops on me. So that was after that was like always the goal. Can I sell a cop? It never happened again. But it was just like that one time, right?
That'd be a
So
good answer to an objection. It's like, I'm gonna call the cops, and he's like, I would appreciate the referral. Cops are
yeah, because
parents
they need
too.
this too. So, but the big burly one, I mean, that one's more of a feel good story. That one's a little bit longer.
We could encourage people to go back and listen to it. It's
Yeah, I would
okay.
say let's go back to if you really want to hear it. It's
No,
definitely a letdown, and there's all this stuff, and then he does have a warm heart finish. But I would definitely go back and listen to whatever episode that was.
actually, so they can go back to listen to your first episode, or we also did put it in our favorites of 200 for our 200th
Ooh,
episode.
yeah, yeah,
So they could also go back and listen to that because they can catch all that. That's good. Give them with the kind of with the book. We gave them the best stuff. Now they can go back and find the other stuff.
yeah,
If they
yeah,
earn it, they gotta go earn it now. I appreciate that.
exactly, man. So
Now, okay, so let's close this sucker up. But
cool.
before we do, one last thing. Okay, guys, the book on high ticket sales, The Ultimate Guide to Making Millions Through Remote Selling by Chad Aleo. You guys can go find that on Amazon right now. You go find yourself a soft cover, or you can go get the hardcover like a cool kid. Um, and support Chad. One thing that I will ask for you is if you guys read the book, the biggest thing that you can do to help an author, especially on Amazon, is go leave them a review after you've purchased the book. It is huge for the algorithm, but not just that, just to help the author feel like their time was worth it, because those hours that you spent writing this thing, nobody else thanks you for them in any other way better than writing a review. So please make sure you guys go ahead and do that. If you guys are interested in getting a hold of Chad, you can go find him on Instagram. That's on the screen right now at Chad Aleo. You can also go down on the show notes and go find the links to his LinkedIn page, and as well as like the Amazon book as well. And last but not least, if you guys want to learn a little bit more from Chad, or maybe you sold with him, you want to say hi, make sure you guys reach out to him in that way. Make sure you catch the audiobook if you want to listen to that as well. Go to his website, chadaleo.com. And of course, anything other questions, you message us and we'll get you guys in touch with Chad if for whatever reason you can't find him. Thanks so much, man, for being on the show. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Oh man, just remember, guys, it always happens, but also if not now, when? That would be the biggest thing, right? So whether it's
and plan.
But in just seriousness, time is so precious, right? And I wish we had some music in the background where I could really bring the feels out like I've done on stage when I speak. But it's so true. And I think when you really realize the urgency that you should have in life, because man, we see people every day pass away that we know, love, unexpectedly, that we've known at some point in our lives. And it's just, if you want to chase something and you want to make a change in your life, do not be someone that just thinks about it and talks about it. Make a decision, decide who you want to be, and go freaking be it. That would be my parting words. All right.
Mic drop.
That's all you got to do.
Mic drop. Good stuff, man. Guys, thank you so much for listening in. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and all that stuff. We're on all the socials, or sign up for our newsletter as well. My name is Andres Gamboa. We'll catch you on the next episode. This has been the Ponytails Podcast. Bye, everybody.